Welcome back to Math. Section 3 is all about decimals, place values, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and rounding. Humans have 10 fingers, so our number system is based on 10. Each position, or place, is worth 10 times the value of the place to its right. A decimal point marks the spot where things become less than an entire object. Even after the decimal point, to the right of the decimal point, every place is still worth 10 times the amount of the place to its right. So we have an example here with a 1,000,000 decimal point 0001. We read that 1,000,000 and 1/10,000th. It's common for people to say things like 0.0001, but it's more accurate to say and for the decimal point and then say the number in the place value, so 1/10,000th. Our U.S. currency is also based on a decimal system with tens, and money is a great way to practice the decimals. So the number we have here is $153.12. Even if we had just the amount of bills and coins listed here, $100 bills, $10 bills, $1 bills, dimes, and pennies, we could make all the change we wanted to. If I needed to pay someone $3, but I didn't have 3 $1 bills, instead I had a $10 bill, I could trade that $10 bill for 10 $1 bills. It's not really borrowing because I'm just exchanging the money that I have for the equivalent. So I'm really trading or regrouping is a better way to think about it. But once I've traded in that $10 bill for 10 $1 bills, now I can pay the $3. When we add decimals, we first need to line up the columns vertically. We need to be sure that the decimal point is directly above each other, and we fill in with any kind of zero so that there's the exact same number of decimal places after the decimal point in both numbers. Now we can add the columns one by one, starting on the right. 0 and 2 equals 2. 8 and 5, however, are 13. I can't put all of the 13 in this column, but I can write the 3 here and do what we call carrying the 1. Remember, the 1 is worth 10 times the value to the left of it, so it's 3 1s and a 10. Now I've got 1 and 7, that's 8. 8 and 2 are 10, so I'm going to write the 0, bring the 1 up, because I have none of this place value, but I've got 1 that's of the value that's 10 times as much. Now I take 1 plus 5, that's 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. No need to carry anything there. And the 3 doesn't have anything to add to it, so I just bring it straight down. The decimal also comes straight down, so that is 370 and 32 hundredths. To subtract decimals, we also need to have the columns lined up vertically. And again, we need to have the same number of decimal places to the right-hand side of the decimal. So if there aren't the same number, fill in with any zeros as necessary. So in this example, we've got 2 places after the decimal place in both. So now we're going to subtract, and we're subtracting 34 and 6/10 from 942 and 57 hundredths. So, lined up, 7 minus 0, well, 7 take away 0 is still 7. But now we can't take 6 away from 5. It's bigger than the 5. But again, remember, we can regroup, we can borrow. And this 2 over here, that's worth 20 of these. So let's take 1. We take 1 of those away. It leaves us with 1. We cross it off and just remember that we've still got 1 left. But the other one that we're borrowing, regrouping, trading for is worth 10 of these. So we already had 5, now we have 10 more, so we write it as 15. Now 15 take away 6, that's 9. I'm going to bring my decimal point right down now too. 1 minus 4, I can't do it quite yet because 4 is bigger than 1, but I've got more over here, so I can take away one of these 4s, that would leave me with 3. That one that I took away from there is worth 10 of these, so now I have 10 plus 1, I really have 11 here. 11 minus 4 is 7. Now the 3 minus 3 is 0, and 9 doesn't have anything taken away from it, 9. So the answer is 907 and 97 hundredths. Multiplication with decimals doesn't require lining up the decimals, and it does not require that the numbers being multiplied have the same number of decimal places. So we start with the last digit on the right of the second number, and we multiply it by the entire top number, one column at a time. Just like in addition, if the result is 9 or less, we're just going to write that number in its correct column. If the result is 10 or more, we write the last digit, the ones column, below, and again carry all the other digits up to the next place. Alright, here we go. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42. So we're going to write the 2 down and carry those 4 from that digit over here. There. 6 times 3 is 18, and we have to remember to add on 4 more. 18 and 4 is 22. Write down that 2, bring that other 2 up here. 6 times 4 is 24. Adding on 2 is 26. Now I'm actually going to erase these because I'm going to probably need to put something different in that column this time around. When I start the next one, I'm going to write 1 0 as a placeholder under this digit. And here I go. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. I'm putting down the 8 and I'm carrying the 20 part up here as 2 in that column. 4 times 3 is 12. And those 2 more is 14. Put down the 4, bring the 1 up. 4 times 4 is 16, and that one is 17. After we've repeated the process as many times as there are digits in the second number, now we're going to add the results. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 4, 6. 2 plus 8 is 10. Write the 0 and carry the 1. Now that's 6 plus 1 is 7, and 4 is 11. 3 and 7 is 10, and 1 is 2. Finally, we're going to count the total number of decimal places in both of these numbers and add them together, and that's how many decimal places our answer should have. This one has 1, this one has 2, so 1 and 2 is 3. We're going to have 1, 2, 3 decimal places in our answer. Dividing decimals is scary for some people, but there's really just a few steps that we repeat over and over and over again. This problem is really 2.4 divided by 0.08. Really, I should say that 2 4/10 divided by 8 hundredths. So the 2.4 goes inside the division symbol, and the divided by, the 8 hundredths, goes by the division symbol. Now, the next thing is we can't have any decimal places in the number that we're dividing by. So we're going to move this over 2 places. And if you do it to one thing, you have to do it to the other. Math is very fair like that. So I have to move this over 2 places also. And you notice that I added a 0 there so that I'd have 2 places to move it over. Now that my decimal point is there, I'm going to bring it straight up. We can really ignore this 0 for a moment because it doesn't make much difference anymore. We're just going to have 8 divided into certain things. Look at the first number. Can 8 go into 2? No, 8 is bigger than 2, so we don't write anything up there yet. But can 8 go into 24? Why, it sure can, and it goes in 3 times. And in fact, it goes in 3 times evenly. 3 times 8 is 24. So we divided, then we multiplied. Now we subtract. 24 minus 24 is 0. Next step, bring down. We have a 0 here. 8 does not go into 0. Put a 0 up there. Now, we're done because we've run out of decimal places and everything went in evenly. We'll do some more complicated ones in the practice problems. Sometimes we need to round the decimals. When we divide, sometimes we get more decimals after the decimal point than really are meaningful or significant. So, for example, imagine you're calculating the average number of students in a class and the result is 24.7. Well, that doesn't make any sense. There's no such thing as 7/10 of a student. So we round to the nearest whole number, which would be 25, so that it makes sense in our problem. So the first step is to determine how many places matter to you. You either use your common sense, like we just did, or sometimes a problem on a test might tell you exactly how many places they want you to round your answer to. So you always look one place more over than your final answer. So, and then in this case, we're going to round 256 and 739 thousandths to the nearest tenth. Well, tenths are here. So we're going to look at the next significant digit over. That's a 3. The rule is if it's less than 5, keep this number. If it's 5 or more, raise that number. Well, it's less than 5, so we're going to keep it. The answer is 256 and 7/10. Here we're asking us to round 547 and 735 thousandths to the nearest hundredth. Well, hundredth is there, so we're going to look at the next digit over to the right. If it's less than 5, keep. No, it's not. It's 5 or more, so we raise. So we're going to raise 547 and 3 raises to 4, 74 hundredths.